Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Fernando from the Sellerboard Show. I have a special guest for you. It's Manuel Obermeier from the AMZ Ads. He's going to give us very important tips for 2023. Stick around. Welcome. This is Fernando, your host for the Sellerboard channel. I have here today a very special guest. His name is Manuel Obermeier from AMZ Ads. Manuel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Manuel, let's start with your story. Tell us about you. I thought you were Portuguese or Spanish because of your first name. I just talked to you. You're not, but let's go. Let's hear your story. Where are you based? How did you start on Amazon?
Yes, not quite Spanish or Portuguese. I'm actually from Austria, living near Vienna, being born and raised here.
Beautiful city.
Yeah, really
Beautiful
beautiful
city,
here.
beautiful country. Love it there.
Yeah, me too. Not just like, I'm not so much a fan of the cold season here, but the summers are definitely great. Winter season is not so much my taste, but yeah, been enjoying it here. And yeah, my backstory, like it was kind of like the standard thing. Like I was just, going to school, starting university and stuff, but somehow got a little bit sidetracked, got into e-commerce. First of all, like as a seller myself, and I kind of started with like the whole like drop shipping thing, which like is a lot of the first steps for a lot of e-com entrepreneurs, I assume. And then also like helped other drop shippers with the advertising, the marketing, and it kind of became a big passion of mine. So that led to me quitting university because I realized, well, I'm more of an entrepreneurial type and I like e-commerce, and like the whole traditional university stuff is not so much for me. So quit that, started working as an intern actually for some agencies, and also like learned a lot about sales, marketing, business development, all that stuff. And yeah, then decided to start my own business, running an Amazon PPC agency now. And initially got into Amazon as a book author, really. Like I started writing some books and launched them on KDP. And that's how I started with Amazon PPC overall.
Okay, so your first niche was actually books.
Yes.
Nice. And what did you write about?
I was writing about like some gaming books and like helping people to improve in video games. Like that's when I was younger. I was playing a lot of video games. Now I don't really have the time anymore, which is probably better. But yeah, it was more of a passion project. I just wrote a couple books, and then I realized actually after I finished the books that I can actually upload them to Amazon, and Amazon does everything for me with the printing and like bringing the people to my products. That was pretty crazy. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And I was a growth marketer for like general marketing, like Google ads, Facebook ads. So I had a really good understanding of marketing overall. I'm like, yeah, this PPC Amazon thing doesn't sound too complicated. Just started launching a few advertising, like a few campaigns and stuff. And it worked pretty well. And that's how I kind of like got into the Amazon space in the beginning.
Nice. All right. And when did you start your agency?
It was roughly like a year and a half ago. So we're still a relatively young agency in the industry. But the thing is, with the people that we have in our team, they're like all very experienced. Like for me, it's like I've been in e-com marketing for like years now, since I started like becoming a professional person after like school and stuff. And yeah, now we're trying to do things a little bit different with a pretty young and upcoming agency, and just taking over the market in the next couple of years.
Nice. What's the marketplace that you work the most? Is it Germany? Is it UK? Is it USA?
So interestingly enough, like even though I'm based in Europe, I would say most of our clients, probably 80% are from the US or Canada. Like these are our biggest marketplaces, our biggest brands. We have a couple in Germany, for example, or in general in Europe. We have also like one person from Israel. They're also selling in Europe and the US actually. So it's a pretty good mix, but most of them are definitely from the US, which makes sense because it's also like the biggest Amazon marketplace by far.
Nice. Was it hard to start your agency?
Honestly, like not really. It was much easier than expected, I would say, because I think the reason for that, and this is also something I'm like, I think we can also go into like our conversation later, because when you started contacting me, like I mentioned, I want to talk more about like the more big picture thing for like brands and what I think is important.
I'll start
Yeah,
I'll start the discussion right now.
like that's for me really important, and that's what helped me as well as like starting my agency. Like I had all the mindset in place, like all the hard skills as well, and it was super smooth. Like I knew how like how to provide value, I knew how to build a team, how to do sales and marketing and everything. So it was much smoother than it should have been actually. So
Nice.
yeah, it's been a pretty nice and awesome journey so far.
Nice. All right. So, what are the most important factors for success on Amazon? Let's start this.
Yes.
What do you say would be the most important factors?
I mean, I would say the first one is something that for any business, really, it's just the mindset stuff when it like comes down to mindset. And there is like different factors, right? There is the overall like personal mindset, there's the whole business mindset, and also more specific, like the Amazon seller mindset. And the reason, you know, I like to have these discussions because I see you have like so many really awesome and talented PPC people and like the specialists on these shows and these videos. So I just wanted to do it a little bit different because I'm not the person who's doing like all the day-to-day operations, but I would say a pretty good like business owner that operates in the back with like some of the grand scheme of things. And I think the mindset is what is oftentimes overlooked on what's necessary. Like people always look for like the smallest secrets, like how do I do bit adjustments here? Is there like a secret new targeting or like placement that I can try? And at the end of the day, for me, it just comes down to mindset and product for succeeding on Amazon. And like that's something we also have to do a lot of work on with some of our clients, because we work with some smaller clients, some bigger clients, and the size of the business oftentimes doesn't matter, but owner mindset is oftentimes a bottleneck that we also face as an agency. And we also help them kind of overcome some of the limiting beliefs or like mindset issues. And yeah, this could
like
be like
you're going to be a billionaire in 3 months, something like this.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily that, but like there is some like, I mean, of course, like, you know, if you are a beginner and you really expect to be, you know, like driving a Lamborghini in the next month, like it's not going to happen. But also like, you know, how you see the entire like business model, and like, it's all about providing value to the customers and to the marketplace. And you can't just do it with like, and that's probably like the second biggest thing is like with a shitty product. If you're just trying to like have the best margin, go for like a bad product and just try to make as much money as possible, that's the surest way of not making a lot of money at the end of the day. So it's also like, as a PPC agency, it's sometimes frustrating to have that discussion, because we can have the best advertising in the world, but the product itself is just not good or not providing value to the marketplace. Like the market decides if a product succeeds or not. It's not the advertising. It's not like the listings or the beautiful imagery. It's at the end of the day, it's the product. Is it good? Is it different? Is it competitive in terms of pricing? Do people like the product? And if all these things are in place, if the owner mindset is in place and everything is running smoothly, I would say everything else can be mediocre. But, you know, the product has to be top notch and the mindset as well. And as long as you have these two things, I would say everything else will usually fall in place. And that's also like how our agency has been growing pretty fast in the last 1 year, like 1 year and a half, because like I would assume that, you know, our team and I, we have a pretty good mindset. We deliver great service to our clients, and everything else, I would say, you know, we're not doing a good job of marketing ourselves really. But the success just happens by itself at some point. If you have these two things in place, that's what I think is the deciding factors for Amazon's success, in my opinion.
Nice. And can you dive a little more into the mindset? What is the correct mindsets that you should have? Is it like related to bringing value to the product?
Yeah. First of all, I would say you like always try to deliver as much value as possible to the marketplace. I think that's the key fundamental thing. Not thinking about how can I make the most money, the most profit margins or whatever. How can I deliver the absolute best product to the market? How can I do things differently? Like you don't want to be the product that's out there like 100 or 1,000 times already and just try to do the same and for some reason believe that your product's going to make it, because realistically it's just not going to make it if there are more established brands or products out there. So look for something that's different, that provides value to the customer in maybe a different way, have a better product than everyone else, or just have a few tweaks made, for example, example, that make you stand out, or do like something that's never been done before, that is just like an upcoming trend, and do something on that end. So I think just delivering value, and then also like how you see your business as an owner, in terms of, I'm trying to give a few good examples that you can, try to implement instantly. Like, for example, a lot of people have a very short-term thinking approach. Like, they always think about, okay, how can I like achieve my best numbers this month, when in reality you should look like things on a yearly level, or maybe like in 5 or 10 year terms. And a lot of, especially newer brand owners or like newer entrepreneurs, they tend to be very short-term focused. And I think Amazon itself is a great example. Like, if you compare what Jeff Bezos did, like, he's probably the absolute best in the world when it comes to long-term thinking. Like, he had a vision for Amazon that was 20 years in the future. And Amazon didn't make money in the first, I don't know, 10, 15 years of existence, something like that. And he never cared, because he knew it's going to be, the way he wanted it to be in like 20 years from now. And I think that's kind of crazy. Like, that's probably like the extreme example. But having that long-term thinking mentality, I think that's definitely very important for new entrepreneurs and new brand owners, and even for more established people as well. We just tend to think in very short-term periods. And I'm a big fan of just, looking at like a longer time frame. What can I actually achieve in a year from now, or like in 5 years from now?
Do you think it's possible to be profitable with less than 200 reviews? Is it very hard? Is it easy? What do you think?
I think so, yes. But again, it depends on the category and the product. Like, we have some clients that are just starting. Like, usually we focus more on like more established brands, but we have a few like up and coming brands as well, in our agency. For like, of course, it's more difficult, right? Because you want to invest a lot in advertising, and you just have to get people to like more eyeballs on the listing. But they have a really good product, and the product is also cheaper because it's different. Like, they are price competitive. Like, they have relatively decent margin, even though they are much cheaper than most other competitors in the market. They have been profitable since like after 6 months or so. And we are not going super aggressive with their PPC, because they still want to have a decent profit margin. But there are definitely examples where you can make it work. The only question if it should be the goal, because maybe you're just missing out on revenue, or maybe you should scale higher in the first 6 months, maybe like that. That's really, again, this is where it comes down to the owner mindset. Like, is profit actually the number one North Star that you're aiming for in the first 6 months, or is it just market share overall? And I guess it really depends on what your goals are, and then how you see your brand as a business owner. But usually I would suggest not to look into the profits too much in the first couple of months, because you're going to limit the growth of your brand usually.
Nice. What are the most common misconceptions around PPC?
It's kind of coming full circle to like the mindset stuff again. So I would say, like, these race horses, like with the blinders, that have like not get distracted.
To put in the horses, so it looks straight.
Yeah, like, to not get distracted by like other horses or other riders or like the fans or whatever. And they have like, and I think that's a really good example of describing how a lot of people view their PPC and their advertising. So it's oftentimes like they see PPC as like its own thing in a way, and they try to hit PPC numbers, like hit a specific ACoS or a specific budget or a specific sales number, or have like a certain CPC that they never want to cross because they think that's the maximum CPC they can go for. And at the end of the day, like, and that's something we work when it comes to like consulting and also like client mindset, we work with them quite a bit on that to see PPC as a vehicle to achieve your business goals and your business numbers. So your business goal could be a certain revenue number or a certain profit number, or there is like a lot of metrics that you can aim for as a business owner. And PPC at the end of the day, it should be a vehicle to get you to, to these metrics. So yeah, I like to view it as a car in a way. Like, you jump in the car and you don't care necessarily about what car it is. You just want to get to your desired destination. And of course, you can drive like a Toyota or a Hyundai, which is kind of an example of maybe not so great PPC structure, or you can drive a Lamborghini and a Ferrari and you just get to your destination much quicker because it's just better managed, better set up. But it's still just a vehicle by itself to get you to your goals as a business owner. And it's not just about the Lamborghini itself, but where it gets you at the end of the day. And that's something we work on with a lot of clients, because I see that's kind of a misconception or a limiting belief a lot of people have, to like see it as its own thing. And we just look at PPC and everything else, when in reality, PPC is part of everything else. And, it should be considered that way.
And what is the 𝐿 fallacy?
Yeah, so 𝐿 fallacy is something I like to call it that when people are just only looking at the 𝐿 for advertising success, and they have like, okay, like my 𝐿 has always been 20%, and this is what I think is a good 𝐿 for my brand or my category or whatever. And 𝐿, it's kind of hard to say it that way, but I think it's more of a vanity metric that as a business owner, like 𝐿, I couldn't care less about 𝐿. Because all I want to do is I have a certain profit number or like a certain revenue hit, like a goal I want to hit. And I don't necessarily care if my 𝐿 is 10 or 60%, as long as I hit those numbers and I still have the profitability. And even tacos, right, which also takes into consideration the organic sales and like everything that's happening outside the PPC. It's still a little bit of a limiting number, but it's already much better to look at because it paints a more holistic picture of the business. And especially with business owners that are not necessarily advertisers themselves, if they hire us as an agency and they be like, yeah, I want you guys to hit an 𝐿 of 20%, this is where we have to come in and be like, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea if you want to, hit those revenue goals or you want to just scale, which most of our clients, their goal is to just scale. And if you want to scale, I don't think 𝐿 is ever a number you should necessarily look at when it comes to achieving the goals you have. It's still a kind of an important number to see like how well optimized the ads are and stuff like that. But if you just only look at that number, I think this is where a lot of people get hung up, especially newer brands as well, where you just look at the number and be like, oh my God, my 𝐿 is going up 5%. Everything is going to go like, we're going to die basically. When in reality, like the number itself doesn't necessarily matter,
When you look at tacos, what do you think is a healthy tacos number? Do you think it's like around 10%, around 20%?
We even have some clients, they go for like 40, 50%. And because their goal is not, yeah. So it really depends on the product. I know that's not necessarily an answer you want to hear. Like it depends is almost the most boring answer ever. But I think it's
no, I understand. But if they go like for a tacos 40, 50%, do you think they still have like any profit left, or the goal is strictly growing the brand?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of an extreme example of a bigger corporation. They want to get into the e-commerce space, and all they care about is just capturing market share. And we have a 50% tacos goal that they that's the number we can't cross in a way. Like that's where like it starts to hurt for them as well. But that of course gives us a lot of freedom to run the ads because all they care about is more market share, more revenue. For some of the other clients, I would say what I see usually it's probably around 10 to like 20%. I would say that's usually a more standard range of tacos. But I would not necessarily say there is like one ideal number overall. Like it really depends on your product, your profit margins, and how aggressive you want to be. But if you really go for like a 40 or 50% tacos, you should definitely think twice about that. And if you have like the cash flow to do that, but
to continue. Yeah, right. Yeah. Another question. Do you have to be a numbers wizard to succeed?
I mean, not necessarily. Like what I always tell, like all new brand owners and everyone we work with, like you have to know your numbers because I think your audience, like you mentioned, it's most likely other, sellers and especially like more up and coming brands, which I think the most valuable, lesson for those people is to really know your numbers by heart. And this is something, again, the reason, I think that's a good discussion to have is because when we onboard a new client, oftentimes we ask them very specific questions, like what's your profit margin on your best-selling product? Or like how much money are you spending on advertising right now? And like we ask all these numbers, and oftentimes they're not necessarily aware of those. And I think that's not a problem if you are a big corporation and you have because I think the owner at some point, he shouldn't know those numbers because you have people in place and like teams, and it's their job to know these numbers by heart. But if you're just starting, and I'm not talking about like how high is my CPC on that specific keyword for that specific campaign. Like you don't have to go super granular, but there are like, let's say 10, 20 metrics that are super important for your success. Like what's my revenue number? Like what's my profitability month after month or even week after week? How much am I spending on ads? How much am I making on ads? How much is my ratio between like advertising sales and organic sales? Like how much am I relying on my PPC to actually drive revenue? And I think you don't have to be like a numbers wizard. You don't have to be like a numbers nerd that just like lives in Excel sheets all day. But there are certain metrics that you need to know by heart to really make the right decisions. Because at the end of the day, like these numbers are the most important part of your business. And if you make a decision and if you don't know the numbers, like it's just going to be a guessing game at that point. And that's where it comes back to mindset again. Like just you never want to be like guessing with decisions. Like you need to know for a fact, like this is my data, these are my numbers, and based on that I will make a decision, and then not have any emotional attachment to any of these numbers. That's easier like said than done. Like for me as an external service provider, I'm never attached to like a specific product or a specific campaign, but a lot of brand owners, like they really love some of the products.
I fall into that.
Yeah, and it hurts, right? Seeing a product doesn't perform. It's not easy to do, but if you get emotionally attached to like some numbers or like some products or campaigns, you tend to twist the story that the numbers tell you and try to like make it look better than it actually is, and then that can also lead to wrong assumptions or wrong decisions, which obviously is never a good thing either. So I think that's another thing where it's not easy, but you should try to be as like rational as possible when looking at the story that they're just trying to tell you at the end of the day.
What do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions for 2023?
I mean,
do you think Amazon is going to get harder? Do you think the market's going to come back after the pandemic? What do you think?
Yes, it's a good question. I think I'm a bit more pessimistic, especially about Q4 2022, because like
really,
yeah, like the whole, and even Amazon, like they kind of they've warned sellers as well that don't expect like the craziest Q4 season ever, because like recession and people like after people have been buying online the last couple of years, because especially in winter, or at least in Europe, like there was always some COVID outbreak in winters, and people have been shopping more online during winters. But I feel like this year, and the trends we've seen at the data, people are more likely to just buy in stores again, and they just want to get back to that experience, especially when they're like shopping for gifts for some of the loved ones. And I already think that Q4 might be a little bit of a more difficult period for some sellers, especially if you compare it with some of the previous years that happened. And I think 2023, it depends on the economy as well, but I think it's going to be harder, especially since the last couple of years with COVID and everything, it has been really, really good for e-commerce. Like everything has been booming, everything has been going up. But I think 2022 now, some like brands and some sellers that tend to like hit the floor and see reality, because like all of us have been blended by the whole bliss in a way that the whole economy has done for like e-commerce in the last years. But now reality kicks in, and it's not as easy, as it used to be a couple of years ago. And I think this is both the opportunity if you do things really well and better than everyone else, because if you are better and you have more competition, like you're still going to win if it's getting harder. But if you are not, at the top level, I think it might be harder to compete going forward, especially in the next year. So it's maybe more of a pessimistic outlook, but I think while there's opportunity, I think if you are just doing mediocre things, it's going to be harder to succeed.
Nice. Love it. Love it. When running PPC, do you like to use any automation tool? Like to use like AI, Stream, something like automated, or do you rather do like a mix of the two or just Excel?
Yeah. It's a good question. For us internally, we don't use any automation tools, and that's just a design and a philosophy that we have, because we believe, especially since we're working with brands that are like the main goal for those brands we work with is just scaling. They just want to grow. And I think automation tools, they are not doing the best job in doing that. I'm not like strictly against automation tools at all, but I think for the purpose that we have as an agency and that our clients have, I'm always a big fan of managing everything manually, because if you hire like the best PPC managers and have the best minds working on your ads, I'm like 100% believe that they're always going to outperform any automation tool if your goal is scaling. And I think this is a trap where a lot of up and coming brands fall into, because the moment they start making like good sales and everything's like trending up, they have at some point they have to outsource some things, and a lot of people don't necessarily have the time or enjoy the whole PPC management.
That's the time that
right?
you think they have to outsource.
I mean, not necessarily, but I think a lot of people try to take the short route of just using automation tools because it just sounds nice, right? You just have a tool that does everything for you and you're free, and they're not even that expensive compared to like hiring a team member or like a freelancer or an agency or whatever. And I think people do that too early. I think what automation tools are phenomenal at is if you are a well-established brand, a big brand, and you just want to streamline the process and have that on top of PPC managers and just have a consistency in terms of like the whole PPC structure. When it gets too hard to manage and there's too much products, too much campaigns, there's just too much of a budget to manage just for like a couple of people, I think it's a great supportive tool on top of like having a team or an agency manage your PPC. But I would not recommend that necessarily to brands that have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people working in the business, because I think you should, if you have the ability, you should still do it yourself. And if you don't have the time or the ability, I would rather look for a freelancer if you don't have a big budget, or if you can afford it, I would probably hire an agency to do that instead of going for an automation tool, because they're going to help you scale the business. And then at some point you will be at a level where you can then use these automation tools to streamline the whole process. But I think you have to earn your spot there first, and you can't just like put an automation tool for a brand that's trying to grow or that might struggle with PPC, because it's not going to fix the underlying issues that you have. It's more like just a supportive tool. Like that's how I like to see it. I know there are people with different opinions, but that's what we have seen play out for a lot of our clients that also tried those tools in the past and it didn't succeed. And we have also tested them because it would be nice to have them for us as well. But unfortunately, they're not delivering the results that we want them to. So for up and coming brands, I would be a bit wary of those tools, in my opinion.
Nice. Are most of your clients Americans, or are most of your clients German going to American?
Mostly American brands, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and how are you able to reach out to them if you are in Europe?
It's mainly like what we do is a lot of value-based outreach. So we like to look for brands where we see a lot of potential. So we are more of a boutique agency, and we have also the goal of keeping it that way. So what we do is like we spend a lot of time researching on Amazon and finding brands where we see that they're having some issues in their marketing or advertising on Amazon specifically. And then what we do is like we provide value for them. We record videos, we do like an audit for them, and we just help them fix some of the issues. And I think the best way of just building a relationship and a partnership is just provide value first. And if they see the value you provide for free, like there is usually much more that we can do. Like once, you become a client and we build a partnership going forward. So that's kind of how we found those brands and how we get in contact. And for me, or for us in general, it doesn't matter if this is a US-based client or a Europe-based client, because at the end of the day, if we think we can help a brand, it doesn't really matter where they're from necessarily.
Of course. Yeah. What is your favorite dish on Amazon?
Sorry, what was that question?
What is your favorite niche? Is it like supplement, chocolate?
Good question.
Kitchen and dining, outdoor sports.
I mean, I'm a big sports fan and like also a big dog fan. So definitely these two niches are great. But when it comes to working with brands, I think the best niches for me personally, I love niches that are more in the, let's say, self-development niche or things that help people improve their life. It maybe sounds a little bit like cliche, but if you help a brand scale, that also like helps the people improve their life, I think it's kind of a win-win situation because, you know, we work with a performance-based model. So we make more money. The clients make more money because they, you know, scale their business, and we can help more people also improve their lives. A good example, we had a client in the past, they sold like budget planners or like life planners, yearly planners. And I'm a huge fan of like some of these personal development tools. And if you sell more of these products, you know, people are going to have like better budgeting, or like they're going to hit their yearly goals because they have better planning and keeps them accountable and stuff. These get me kind of pumped in a way if we can help those brands scale, because we just know the impact that these products have on the customers.
Nice. And how do people contact you? If they want to know more, if they want to get in touch with you, how do people get in touch with you?
Sorry, I was just like drinking, like I had a lot of calls today, so my voice is kind of dying a little bit already. So
no, it's like...
you can contact us on our website, which is 𝐿𝐴MZ -ads for ads.com. So it's AMC-ads.com. And people can just book a call with us there. And what we do with any interested brand or any...
Oops, trouble with my internet. Sorry, I'm having like a tropical storm here, so I think my internet.
But that's something we like to do.
Wait! I lost you for a second because I have a tropical storm coming here in Florida, and my internet wasn't stable. So you froze, and I lost you completely. How do people contact you? Can you go over again?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm like the best way is probably our website, which is AMZ-ads.com. So it's just like AMZ, short for Amazon-ads.com. And what we do on a website is we provide a free audit for people. And you can just like book a call there. We're going to do the audit. We're going to share the audit with you. And then it's up to you if you...
Wait, because you're saying that in German. It's for people that are in the United States doesn't know what that is. Amazon is Z. AMZ-ads.com. That's the website. Cool.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's the website. Yeah, you know, that's kind of what, how we pronounce the letters, unfortunately, like a little bit difference there. But yeah, people should be able to find us anyway. And yeah, you can like get an audit done from us, and then it's your call if you want to take the audit, implement it yourself, or have us on board, help you implementing all that stuff. Or also personally, you can reach out to me as well, which is Manuel@amc-ads.com. Yeah, so I think those are probably the two best and easiest way to get in touch.
I was here on the website. What is the quantum strategy?
Yeah, quantum strategy, it's kind of a marketing term because it sounds pretty good, but it's also what we do for like combining a lot of the best technology together. Like, for example, having the best minds, the best PPC experts working on the accounts, but then also combine that, like we mentioned, with like once the brand's ready, with some sort of like AI or like also some automated reporting systems and stuff like that we have in place. So it's basically like we're trying to do combine the benefits of everything, like having like the great minds working on the accounts, but then also like sprinkle in some things like AI and automation and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it came together. And then I just tried to make it sound cool in a way to make it more interesting for people, I guess.
Well, it works. It got me curious.
Yeah.
All right, Manuel, last words. What do you have any last words for us? Any last tip for the sellers that are watching this video?
Sure. Yeah. So definitely, like, even though I mentioned before, like, I'm a bit pessimistic about 2023 and it's going to get harder. I don't think this should be a way to not start, because if you are good and if you have the things I mentioned before, like the mindset, the product, and everything is in place, like, you're still going to succeed. Because I can tell you, even some of the most like biggest brands and the successful brands on Amazon, they sometimes don't have these things in place. And there is always a way to capture a market, or they don't have to like capture the market totally, but a significant market share and succeed. And yeah, like I have done something similar where I quit uni to like pursue my entrepreneurial dream. And yeah, sometimes you just have to take risk, make it work, believe in yourself, and like all the cliche stuff, but it's true. And yeah, just provide value and you will be rewarded by the market.
Wow. Thank you so much. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Manuel Obermeier, directly from Vienna, Austria. He's the founder of AMZ Ads. And if you want to go to his website, amz-ads.com. Manuel,
Yes.
thank you so much for being
Appreciate
here.
it. Also, great job on pronouncing the name. That's really hard for a lot of people, so love it. Yeah, awesome job,
It's
man.
because ich spreche nur ein bisschen Deutsch. That's why.
Probably, yeah, that helps. Absolutely.
All right, Manuel,
All right,
thank you
thanks.
so much, and I'll see you in
Thanks for having me.
2023.
Absolutely. Have been a pleasure, and yeah, keep crushing it, man.
And that was our interview with Manuel Obermeier from AMZ Ads. What you have to do right now is go to sellerboard.com. If you are an Amazon seller and if you need to keep control over your operations, inventory management, profits, PPC expenses, follow-up emails, everything related to your numbers to make sure you're doing good on Amazon, go to sellerboard.com right now, click on demo, play around with the software. I'm sure you're going to love it, and then you can start a trial. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.